little bit of background information. We're going to talk about an essential nutrient. This is one you must eat. Your body cannot make it. Okay? There are two, well, we're going to focus on these two, omega-3s and omega-6s. Okay? We're all familiar with them, right? For the most part. These fatty acids make up part of our cell membranes. Every cell in your body, including brain cells, muscle cells, nerve cells, will take what we eat and incorporate that fat into the cell. Okay? It's an essential. We have what's called a phospholipid bilayer of every single cell. Okay? And we need to protect that. Fatty acids, these omega-3s and 6s, can promote or reduce inflammation. Okay? They're converted into substances called eicosanoids. Okay, this, I'll give you the take-home messages for most of this. Omega-6s, pro-inflammatory. Okay, bad. Omega-3s, these are anti-inflammatory. Those are good. What are our sources of omega-6s? Corn, sunflower, cottonseed, safflower, soybean oils, grains, all grains, and packaged foods. Packaged foods because they're packaged, there's stuff put in there, these oils to make the shelf life longer. Okay. Sources of omega-3s. Fish. Marjorie likes the fish. Fish oil, wild game, grass-fed animals, green vegetables, flax seeds, chia seeds. Okay. There's other sources if you don't like fish. So. But you don't want to eat farm-raised tilapia. Farm-raised tilapia has more omega-6s in it than bacon does. So it's not.
You'll never have to worry about me.
Okay. All right, so these are foods with beneficial ratios. Okay? So we're going to break down the omega-6 to omega-3. Ideally, our goal is 1-to-1. It's really very, very difficult. But we say that if you're 4 omega-6s to 1-3, if you're 4-to-1, you are still anti-inflammatory. Okay? So fruits, green vegetables are ideal. A white potato, sweet potato, grass-fed meats, and this does vary a little bit depending on cut and things like that, and the percentage. For instance, they say that, or another good one is omega-3 eggs. So for instance, Hillside has about 90% grass-fed cows, so their milk is a little bit better and their eggs are. Wild game, fresh fish, again, the farm-raised salmon in some areas is okay, but if you're a big label reader, you can see that some of it isn't. Okay, you have to be a little bit of a student to pick out farm-raised foods. Any questions on the ratio? Does it make sense? Foods with an inappropriate ratio. So this is basically the omega-6 to omega-3. And really, the higher than 4-to-1, we end up having more inflammation. The first one, nuts. People want to say, "What, you have nuts here?" And I heard nuts are very good. They are. They're 5-to-1. Okay, it's very close. But again, most of us aren't eating a whole meal of them. Okay, they are a very good snack, and they're very healthy for us because of the monounsaturated and the good fats that come with them. Grain-fed meat, 5-to-1. Soybean, 7-to-1. Grain-fed chickens, white and dark meat, 15 to 17-to-1. Here's the one that is really important. Most Americans' diets are 20 to 30 omega-6s to 1 omega-3 because of the grains, cereals, breads, pastas, etc. Even wheat, whole wheat. Did anyone ever read the book Wheat Belly or watch Dr. Oz? He just had a segment on this whole thing. Wheat's not only, the doctor that wrote the book says, wheat's not only bad because of gluten. We all think we got to beat up on wheat because of gluten. They had a statistic. 2 slices of whole wheat bread had a higher glycemic index, which means it had it raised our blood sugar higher than 6 tablespoons of white sugar. And then they had 50 years ago, our wheat plant was this tall. Today, the wheat plant's this. So it's been modified. It's not the same wheat. So it wasn't really good for us then, and now it's certainly not good for us. Potato chips, 60-to-1, and certain seeds. So what is this? excessive signaling by omega-6 eicosanoids, these pro-inflammatory eicosanoids, promote vigorous inflammation that can go beyond the normal self-healing process and create pathology or disease or problem. It's been linked to arthritis, headaches, osteoporosis, asthma, menstrual cramps, cancer, colitis, heart disease, and the list is there's quite a few. What is this? What does it mean? The key point here is that very different diseases share the same underlying cause, a poor diet. Everyone's like, oh, geez, I have pasta in the oven or something tonight, right? I gotta go home and change it.
No, I ate it for lunch.
Yeah.
I can't eat anything ever again. What do I eat?
I thought this was a good slide to throw in there. You know.
That's cool.
So what's the big point? Pain. Pain and omega-6 fatty acids from breads, grains, seed oils, and grain-fed animals. So we need to stay away from them to control pain as well. You are. I thought that was pretty good there. Burger face. So how do we turn off inflammation and pain? 1, eat an anti-inflammatory diet and take supplements to help reduce inflammation. Some of the key supportive supplements. These are the key, the basis. These are the most studied, well-known supplements to help promote an anti-inflammatory diet. 1 is a multivitamin. 2 is magnesium. Typically they recommend about 400 milligrams a day for supplement, but we want our daily dietary intake to be up around 1,000 milligrams. Okay, so between 400 and 1,000. EPA and DHA, these are the omega-3 fatty acids. Okay, we want 1 to 3 grams. People don't realize there's marketing. They'll sell you a bottle of fish oil, but they'll just list the omega-3 content, and then on the bottom it'll see other. Okay, the other is the omega-6s and omega-9s. You can't separate them. Okay, they all have them in there. You just want a good quality one, and you want one that has the proper ratio. Okay, so you want to ingest about 1 to 3 grams a day for a therapeutic benefit. Vitamin D, at least 2,000 international units a day. The vitamin D, people talk about vitamin D toxicity. It's fat-soluble vitamin. Are we going to get toxic? There's plenty of research out there that shows that becoming toxic from ingesting vitamin D is very rare. 1,000 international units, okay, is equivalent to 0.025 milligrams. 0.025 milligrams. I want you taking 400 milligrams of magnesium. So the number is actually very small. It's a very tiny number. So 2,000 international units is what we need just to stay where we are. If you're low, you're going to stay low with that. If you're a little high, you'll stay high. We really need about 4,000 to start creeping up. Okay? The other 2 real big ones are coenzyme Q10. Most of the therapeutic doses are around 100 milligrams. If you take a statin medication, if you have any signs of heart disease, things like that, you might need a little bit more. And certain botanicals, herbs that are very powerful anti-inflammatories that should be taken in part of our diet are ginger, turmeric. There's a few other. These are probably my top favorite. And again, they're usually varied depending on the manufacturer. So many of you have probably seen the Essential Nutrition Pack by Anabolic Laboratories. That has all the top 4 in it. It's very convenient. Some of the specialty ones, if you have some other problems, joint health, we might want to look at glucosamine and chondroitin, okay? Bone health, calcium. Calcium's another one we could talk for a while about, but we want around 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams a day. That's including our diet, okay? Digestive health, very important. A lot of good information coming out about probiotics. The 2 big ones are Lactobacillus acidophilus and Bifidobacterium. What do? They're good bacteria that support digestion. Those good bacteria are responsible for fermentation process to make vitamin K, certain B vitamins. The good bacteria keep bad bacteria in check. Bad bacteria come from sugars, grains, carbohydrates. They feed off of that. If we get an imbalance, one of the best things to do is a cleanse, which is part of the product of the 24-day challenge that we're going to be doing. You can't get rid of bad bacteria with taking probiotics. Okay, if it's bad enough, some people have to go on an antibiotic called rifaximin. It's very strong to kill them. Then you must replace it. And then acute injuries. Some of the botanicals and proteolytic enzymes are very important. Those are for the people that are shoveling and tear some muscles, and you got scar tissue, things like that. Bromelain, which is found heavily in pineapples, is another good proteolytic enzyme. Okay, so how about genetics? People can have a genetic predisposition or weakness to a disease or condition. But just because you have a gene doesn't mean you're going to express it. Okay? There's a lot of, it's well known that chronic inflammation or irritation through high sugar, high grain diets, an inflammatory diet can cause a greater chance of expressing these genes. Lifestyle is also a big part of the picture here. How is your nutrition? Does it affect your ability to adapt to stress? The use of prescription and non-prescription drugs, alcohol, nicotine, caffeine, certain artificial sweeteners. You know, a lot of times people want to know about the artificial sweeteners. One, we shouldn't be taking enough drinks that have them in there to really create a problem. You know, if you're drinking 24 sodas a day that are diet, you might have a problem. But I'm not saying they're good for you by any means, but usually the amount we're going to ingest is so negligible. People really stress over them, but yet there was an article that I didn't get into earlier about aspirin. You know, aspirin's the #1 cause of hospitalization for bleeding ulcers. It kills thousands of people every year because of bleeds, brain bleeds. About 2,600 a year from brain bleeds. So you've never heard of anyone being hospital or killed from artificial sweetener. Not that they're great because they're not natural, but still, we have to weigh them into perspective. So if you're diabetic and you want something a little sweet, you know, an artificial sweetener is not going to kill you. But if you can just do a little natural lemon and water and you're okay with that, I would prefer that. But we have to put some of these into perspective. Same thing with the GMOs, the genetically modified organisms. Some people really blow that out of proportion. You know, there's plenty of common foods that fit that category. That really, it's not a big deal. So, do we get sufficient rest? How's our mental attitude? And do we exercise and perform some type of physical fitness on a regular basis? Oh, here it is. Actually, thought I went over it earlier. But here's the daily aspirin. Basically, what I just talked about. You know, the use of prescription and non-prescription drugs. You know, for more than a decade, people have taken aspirin, statins, or anti-inflammatories that are these COX-2 inhibitors. By the way, that's eating an anti-inflammatory diet. This COX-2 inhibitor blocks that omega-6 pathway. That's exactly where it blocks. So if you don't put it in, there's a much less need for those. But we've been told and misguided to believe that these were all safeguarding our health. And there's plenty of side effects with these. And we saw before that they're preventable.